Welcome back. I'm glad you are still with us. We do appreciate those of you who are talking to us and sharing with us your thoughts. William Wambui, thank you so much for being a part of that discussion. Nana, wishing our candidates success as they finish up their exams. Talking about never thought we have a building code here in our country, Juwatu Jenga Manyumba Bila formula, and consequently we see building collapse. Cynthia, I see your concerns in regards to building accessibilities in this day and time, and as per that conversation, you can be able to read about it on part 20 of the 24-part draft building code of 2020 to understand more of what it entails. But thank you so much for tuning in. We do appreciate your feed. Keep talking to us as we continue with these conversations. Right now, Women at the Forefront. This is a segment about women who are doing amazing things, as grand or as little as they may be considered, but at the end of the day, empowering our young girls and just breaking that glass ceiling that society put there. And joining us live for this conversation this morning, we have Fiona Asonga, who is the CEO of the Technology Service Providers of Kenya. Good morning, Fiona.
Morning, how are you?
I am doing well. Yourself?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you for making time to be with us this morning.
You're welcome. I'm happy to be able to just talk to the young girls and give them some heads up and encourage them to keep going for it.
Hey, won't be a situation qua ground how things are looking. Now let's get straight into it, and maybe you could tell us a bit about, the Technology Services Providers of Kenya and how you got there.
The Technology Service Providers of Kenya was founded in 1999 by a gentleman by the name Richard Bell, who was able to get some about 6 service providers, ISPs at that time, or cyber cafe owners. That we really didn't have well-established ISPs then. And they formed the association because that was the time when the split of Kenya Posts and Telecommunications Corporation. And as it was being split, they saw the opportunity for there to be services for ISPs, and so they came together to advocate initially for more opening up of the market so that they could get opportunities for business, so just business people wanting to make a buck. And so they started. I joined TESPOC in 2005, and at that time, they had grown from the initial 4 to there were about 12 members, and TESPOC was then very well known for being in the press and bashing government for not opening up this and not opening up the other and blocking them from doing business and wanting to license them because the regulator was just being established, so licenses were just being introduced for different service providers. And so a lot of people were still trying to manage the business and really know how to get things done and moving. And internet wasn't so popular yet. We had cyber cafes where you'd go and pay, was it 20 shillings for 5 minutes? And then 10 shillings for every other 10 minutes, something like that. It was a bit crazy. So and then for university students, you'd get internet if your university had, and a lot of universities didn't even have internet at those days. So many of us would crowd the cyber cafe and use internet from there. So in 2002, TESPOC sets up the Kenya Internet Exchange Point, which is where all the traffic to date of Kenya comes in, is switched and exchanged from. This is a service that is owned by all the ISPs, all the service providers. So they jointly put together money, put together the infrastructure, and have been running it as a joint service under TESPOC ever since. Initially, when it was set up, it was shut down for a whole year. Why? Because Telkom Kenya felt that was their business space and were getting into it. And so it was a whole 1-year court process with arbitration and tribunal discussions, trying to explain why in other countries, every country has got an internet exchange point where to keep their traffic local and to also help reduce the cost of connectivity. So 1 year later, we're allowed to open. And KXP began its operations. And that was the time, for those who remember, the cost of internet came down to 50 bob per minute. Why? Because it was now affordable for us to be able to enjoy the services, and internet became now more popular. So KXP has played a big role over the years in just keeping those costs down, keeping the traffic local, because that reduces the cost of your traffic. My mail from you doesn't have to go to London or Amsterdam and come back to you. It just gets switched at the exchange point, and within and that has reduced speeds from 150 milliseconds of communication to 5 milliseconds. So in 5 milliseconds, they send you an email, you should have it. So when you're talking, your email is coming.
No excuses.
You can't tell me that you didn't get it unless your ISP is not at the exchange point. So then, and I will time, it will go to London and come back, and that will take about 138 to 170 milliseconds.
All right. Now, it's clearly been a journey, just evolving over the years with the time, with the challenges that we have been facing, obviously stepping up. But no, looking at the technological space, and it is unfortunate that we're still living in a time where it is still considered a male-dominated industry, in as much as we're seeing women also, coming strong in this particular industry. Looking at your personal journey, how was it when you got in, comparing it to the current times? And is being a woman, has it ever been used against you in your line of duty?
Okay, I'll start with the first part of the question. How was it when I got in? It was very intimidating, because I would go in for meetings and would be a group of 50, and I was the only female.
Pressure.
And we're discussing industry issues. And so when you're looking around and you're telling them, no, it can't work that way. That is not a balanced approach for everybody, because TESPOC has to make sure that we're giving a balanced position.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you'd find the testosterone is so strong that people want to exchange punches after dark. And it was those are just one or two incidences that made me realize, hey, here I have to really negotiate with my eyes open, all my eyes. Otherwise, a punch could accidentally land on you. But it has changed a lot, because today we've got a number of women, at least from around 2008. We began to see more women coming in. There is the late Evelyn Rono she used to work for KDN. She was also involved in a lot of policy negotiations, so we would find ourselves together and negotiating together. Then a number of the telcos started to employ women lawyers into the space, and they also got involved in the discussions. So different things have been done to help bring more women on board. Some have been engineers. There is women like Jacqueline Mwai, who are engineers, came in and also started getting very active in the conversations. So it has really improved, and we're really looking forward to a situation where we can have more women being more visible within the telco space, and women who understand what the ICT issues are about. During the period while it was so male-dominated, for 13 years I was Africa's representative to the global body that manages the internet resources. But nobody knows about it. Nobody knows about the policy discussions and decisions being made at the global level that were trickling down to the national level. Why? Because really it's a face of this woman who doesn't get very visible, and people don't. I'm not a household name, but I prefer to have my members being the household names, because they're the ones giving you the services, the Safaricoms, the Airtels, the Telkom Kenyas, Zuku with Wananchi. Those are the guys who are in your face every day. So it's good that the customers know who their service providers are. And for me, that gives me a lot of satisfaction.
Now, looking at 2020, it's a year that just brought out harsh and, facts, realities in all ways. Just everything, the bandit was just ripped. No heads up, no nothing. And this also consequently did affect the tech space, because we did see the traditional way of doing things, everything shifting to the online platform. And of course, that was unexpected and changes had to be adopted very fast. Looking at that year as it was, do you think it has such an impact on the role of women in the tech space in Kenya? And to what extent did that year alone do when it comes to the progress that we had made over the years?
2020 has impacted the tech space in an amazing way. And one thing that I've seen over the years, a woman's mind tends to think differently. When a woman is writing a program or doing coding, the way they think of going about the solution is very different from the way the man's mindset thinks. And that is just the way we've been wired, the way God decided to wire the two genders. And a lot of the coders who are women have done amazing things. And we've seen a lot of women-related services being availed on digital platforms. So the woman has found herself more exposed because she's got products like fork to plate, you know, so, I mean, farm to fork or farm to plate, so that you are getting your vegetables from the mama mboga, who is able to even prepare them for you, have them delivered to your house, either pre-cooked or pre-done, ready for cooking, or in whichever stage of the process you want to receive them. This is a service by women for women. The shopping, the retail shopping has all gone on digital. Who does the most retail shopping in the world? It is women. It is women who have to think of the shopping for the house. What are the retail products that a woman will look for when doing her shopping list for the house, you know? And this has all gone digital. It makes it easier for the woman to just stay in the house, order. It is delivered by whichever courier service that is handling the courier, and you get everything that you need. We now have even the Glovos that can allow you to order and receive in 30 minutes. So you can start cooking and you realize you're missing an item in your recipe, send order for it online. It will be delivered while you've already begun the process. So life is becoming much easier for the modern woman. And for the woman in technology, there is so many opportunities for you to think of solutions that touch on the lives of women and make the life of a woman much easier in terms of the social responsibility that women have been given in terms of running and managing the households and the children and things that have to do with taking care of the family needs. So 2020 has been a turning point that was unexpected, but extremely welcomed and extremely pleasant, because it has just turned our lives around. We can do so much more as women in terms of being able to achieve our personal goals and touch the lives of those around us.
All right. Now, as part of, the stakeholder group here in Kenya and still also being a woman, what are some of those changes in terms of awareness and efforts that need to be made to just remind women that the internet and tech space is accommodative for each and every one of them in a progressive way and not at the expense of other aspects of their lives?
You know, you talk about that, and it reminds me of a product I've been desiring to see within the telco space.
Tell us a bit about it.
You know, every time you buy a phone, your phone comes loaded with a number of applications. Those applications, there is none of them that is women-centric. Women would want applications that talk about their weight, health, about exercising, about shopping, but those don't come as preloaded apps. So I keep telling the telcos, can you sell phones? Can you do offers for phones that target women that have got preloaded applications that address the things that women are interested in? Then we should be able to see more women uptake of digital devices and being online. That said and done, there's a lot that women can be able to do in terms of just benefiting from the opportunities that has availed themselves. And one of them is looking at things that they're doing every day and seeing what can be digitized and trying to see how this can be put onto digital platforms so that they are shared across the country, across the continent, across the world, things that women can generally enjoy and benefit from. You know, and when you look at the way women use the World Wide Web, there was a study that was done sometime back in 2016, and one of the things that it revealed is that women tend to shy away from the technologies because of the kind of applications that they get, that they come across. So why don't we then, as women, take the opportunity and create solutions that can work for us? What are the things that I want to see? What are the things that my mother wants to see in the village, that my granny would like to see on the phone if I was to give her a phone? What would make sense for her? Because women at different ages have different things that they want to push and are interested in knowing about.
Yes.
Can we be able to make sure these are available to them? There are a lot of young girls I'm seeing getting into the coding space and doing a lot of programming. And I have to encourage them because what they are doing is a skill that is very important and will help us and enable the society and women in particular to benefit from the skills that they use by being able to have applications that are uniquely created to address very unique needs of women, things to do with their health, things to do with the way their bodies work, you know, that it's only mostly women who would understand them better.
Now, how also can we also involve our men in this conversation about empowering women and also just encouraging them to join the tech space? Because in as much as we want to encourage our women as women, we are not living in a bubble. We're living in a space that at the end of the day, we have to coexist with our male counterparts. And then again, we're living in a very patriarchal society. Culturally speaking, we are Africans, you know, men take the lead. But what role can they play in this conversation of encouraging women to take up their space in the tech space?
I think the one thing that has worked for me, actually, a lot of my mentors in the tech space have been men, and I'd like to just appreciate the encouragement that they've given me over the years. And these are men who were very strong-willed and very clear on what they needed achieved and extremely focused. And that is something that I would like to encourage the men to share with the girls. Because when a girl comes into an environment where she finds people are very focused and she's got good mentors, it doesn't matter which gender the mentors are, they are able to still impact your life and be able to give you values and help you build values and principles that work within the workspace across the board, regardless of what gender you are. And so I'd like to just, well, as you've well mentioned, yes, we don't live in a bubble. And one of the things that I've seen happening is men within the engineering space encouraging the ladies to really get involved and participate in the opportunities that are availed, giving them room to just do what they would like to do. And I know many people will always having to climb a mast to be able to fix equipment, but there are women who want to do that and they want to have that opportunity. Allow them to. If she's willing to, fine, but make sure that the safety features and whatever safety precautions need to be put in place are in place for her. So there are men who have encouraged women to really do amazing things within the space, and it is normally good when you're moving in a particular direction and you've got someone cheering you, whether they are of the same gender or not. It's nice to have a cheering squad, you know, of sorts.
Yes.
Encouraging you and advising you and letting you receive genuine criticism that builds you, that makes you better. Because if you don't get feedback, then you do not know whether you are doing the right thing or moving in the right direction. So it's always important to have a group that you can trust and can always give you some feedback to improve your skills and your way of doing things and make you a better person. We're made better by each other anyways.
All right. Now, as we draw this conversation to a close, there's a piece that you put together just in retrospect, looking at 2020, and the title is very interesting, The Golden Cow. Tell us a bit about it, very briefly, as we bring the conversation to a close.
The golden cow, I call it the golden cow because it reminded me of the English fable of golden goose.
Yeah.
And here I'm really thinking about the ICT, the tech industry. We're going digital, but it's still very young. Our digital space is so young in this country, and it needs time, not sort of, it actually needs time to grow, to establish itself, for us to really be able to determine what level of tax should we impose. When a baby is born, you don't start feeding the baby ugali and meat and everything. We go through processes. It's a gradual process.
Yes.
So the reason I wrote that piece is I've looked at the pain of startups, trying to start up. I've looked at the amount of taxes that has been imposed up until 2020, and I can see the 2020 proposed bill is again proposing 2 new taxes, and we still don't know the amounts yet. But the tax is already at 92.5%. So when a service provider is taxed 92.5%, you've put in 100%, say $1 million bob, to start a business. You're taxed 92.5% of their $1 million bob. So you're supposed to work with the rest of 7.5 to run the business. If you wanted to do a business of that amount of money, you'd have put in that amount of money. But you wanted to do a bigger business. So we need to find a way of making sure that let's not overtax the sector, because when we do that, what happens is that we are creating disparity between the haves and have-nots. Why? Because the service provider who needs to still run the service will end up now adding a markup of 100% to just accommodate taxes. That 100% markup is transferred to the customer. So as a customer, when we are trying to bring the cost of access down, government is pushing the cost of access up. Why? Because they've seen an opportunity, everyone is going digital, and they want to all benefit, they want to see how to benefit from it. But, you see, if the golden goose was killed because of laying golden eggs, and the English wanted to have the eggs at a go, it wouldn't have made sense, because a bird lays 1 egg a day. So I called my article, The Golden Cow, because even the cow removes golden milk just once or twice a day. So when you slaughter the cow to try and get all the gold at a go, you lose everything. Let us not lose it all. Let us have a tax regime that is sensible, that makes sense. We want to pay the taxes, we want to support government, but it has to be reasonable. A tax of about 40 to 50% is much more sensible than 92%.
Okay.
And so we are asking, can the tax come down? If we are going to pay digital tax, can we get an exemption then from corporate tax? We can't do corporate tax. You're doing internet tax, you're doing telephony tax, excise duty, and some things like excise duty are at production. What are we producing on the internet? Seriously, what is our
Good
production
question.
on the internet for us to be applying excise duty? The tax has to make sense. Seriously.
It has to make sense at the end of the day. You're still in business, and the tech space is a huge part of the economy, and especially 2020 did make that a reality and cemented it. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Maybe what will be your parting message to our viewers this morning, our young girls and all those who are hopeful about joining the tech space, but they've been having reservations for one reason or the other?
My parting shot to the young girls today is go for it. And to the boys as well, go for it. We really should be able to compete equally for all the opportunities that there are. For the longest time, we've had discussions encouraging girls, but we also need to remember to encourage the boys. Keep going for it. At the end of the day, it is your skill, your ability to innovate, your potential that will determine how far you go. So don't limit yourself. The limit to your future is really your imagination. In the tech space, there's a lot that is yet to be imagined and developed. So go for it. The doors are open.
All right, go for it. The doors are open. Thank you so much, Fiona, for being with us this morning. We have been speaking with Fiona Asonga. She is the CEO of the Technology Service Providers of Kenya. We wish you the best as you continue on with your journey.
Thank you very much.
All right, that brings us to a close of Women at the Forefront, but we're not yet done. As I told you, we have such fantastic conversations coming up. Keep talking to us. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya. At Jane Wambui is my handle. My colleagues at Raymanyar and Dorina Range is how you can find them across the socials. And our official station handle ever remains to be at KBC Channel 1. Stay with us. We'll be right back.